Well, hello, fellow Memphians, Tennesseans, U.S. Americans, and citizens of the world. This is your boyfriend, Tinoco. And never fear, because I'll make it clear to be in your ear to tell you what you need to know and not what you want to hear. Once again, I am actually going to phrase this little session as a prequel to the next video, which I will do, which actually deals specifically with events in Mexico as they are being reported. First of all, I want to lay a basis for the next episode. I need to be real about something that we can agree on. We need to be suspicious about what we hear on mainstream broadcast and cable news, okay? And first of all, I used to watch the Rachel Maddow show. I don't care for her very much anymore because I think she's a big overpaid hypocrite. But I will explain why. Her predecessor, more or less, was a Keith Olbermann, right? Who I respected both for his journalism and his his ability to comment on baseball when he was at ESPN. But I kind of fell out with him as well. But before I did, Keith Olbermann was one of the biggest voices against U.S. activity in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he was allowed to do this by because for some reason, his MSNBC, NBC Universal, blah, blah, wasn't quite economically enjoined with the outcome of that war. So fast forward, I go to Rachel Maddow, okay, after Keith fell off, and so Rachel Maddow all of a sudden started speaking less and less about the war conduct necessarily and war objectives, but war events and support of the troops specifically. So she didn't take a jingoistic, but she definitely took a pro-military, as in real support to troops, not a fake support to troops like Sarah Palin, but basically equaling to the same thing with respect to in support generally of U.S. operations in the Middle East and the Central Asia. Not only that, it also coincided with the fact that military contractors like Lockheed Martin and the Koch brothers were advertising on her network during her shows. So I see Koch brothers mainly about saying how great of a company they are. Come work for us. Now, I'm sure around the years 2010 or so, the economy wasn't such that any one large company closely held company wasn't going to go on TV to advertise for workers. It's too broad of a net to cast. The other thing, okay, so Lockheed Martin and such were advertising their jets on TV and how wonderful they're innovating. Well, I don't know about you, I'm not in the market for a jet. No, this was the way of underwriting the content of the news network so as not to speak in opposition of the military operations which these companies were benefiting from which these companies were benefiting. I even, all of a sudden, understanding that the Koch Science Foundation was sponsoring NPR, I have yet in years to hear an even-handed, literal, both sides of the story report on conditions or events in Venezuela. And I would bet a paycheck or more that this is due to the fact that Koch Industries, not the Koch Science Foundation itself, but Koch Industries is in fact benefiting from the non-introduction of Venezuelan high sulfur oil into the into the global marketplace, or as retribution for not allowing Koch Industries and other foreign entities to participate in the extraction or refinement of said oil where the largest reserves remain. Does it make too much sense? Okay, so when was the last time that we've heard why in the flip we were in Afghanistan for so long? Well, what I know is that a year after we went in, the Taliban sued for peace. And we refused their offer of peace. So we just stayed in to keep beating them up until they finally were beat up on so long that they actually grew into something that was powerful enough to handle their own and overrun these government forces that we never bothered to train in the first place in short order. Okay, so another example. Never believe what the mainstream tells you about foreign goings-on in which the United States military participates. Never take them at their word. Never take them at their word. Also, this happens within United States society, for which when they want to grow some sort of approval for, what's the word, consent. An important word these days for some reason. Consent for a military operation. This has been going on ever since, I would say, as a Mexican American, I'm aware of the recruitment campaigns in the 1840s and how successful they specifically were in Tennessee in order to get people to abandon their very profitable cotton crops and volunteer for a war in Mexico, even without prior military training. So Zachary Taylor got to show up in disputed territory. I call it northern Tamaulipas, in order to provoke the Mexican government into war. We didn't know this, did we? But it was obviously a very successful recruitment effort. Why? Well, I'm not specifically sure. It'd be nice to see all the cartoons and announcements and postings on bulletin boards of that day. But yeah, ever since then, there has been Mexico has been a specific target of Southern enmity, whether it be Mexican people, Mexican politics, notions about Mexico this, Mexico the other. You will see reports of you will see reports of violence in Mexico on the same Microsoft news feed, right next to reports of how wonderful it is to travel to certain parts of Mexico. You will see reports of how dangerous certain parts of Mexico are from one source, and then you will also see in the same screen that has, a collage of links to stories, let's say Microsoft News, when you open up your computer, you will see that next to reports of how people from California are not leaving for the United States, but actually leaving to go to Mexico to spend the rest of their lives, whether to work remotely or retire or just be. Yes, net migration to Mexico is negative. We have net migration between Mexican citizens, on balance, are moving from the U.S. to Mexico. U.S. citizens are moving on balance from U.S. to Mexico. It's a new thing, huh? Maybe that's next year's news. But I'll tell you what, this is going to lay the foundation for what I am telling you in the next segment. Okay? So hopefully you took what I had to heart, because these things are not disputable. We know them to be true, being from Gulf of Tonkin to the USS Maine to Yellow Cake from Niger, going to Saddam Hussein, to babies being put in babies being put in microwaves or, being taken out of their incubators. I'm so sick. Okay, whatever. But anyway, so keep all this in mind. You've heard it before, right? That was all BS. All that what I said was BS. We didn't realize it was BS, but we know it now is BS. But we keep giving these same media outlets the same attention, even though they have proven themselves unworthy of it. So I'm going to tell you what's going on. Until then, this is your boy, Efren Tinoco, giving it to you in a real way. Until next time, hasta luego.